What's up, Hoopers? There's some new trade talk going out there. Look, let's just be honest. After the Utah Jazz made their massive trade to the Cleveland Cavaliers, the New York Knicks struck out. What the heck do they even want Bogdanovich, Conley, Clarkson, some of these dudes for? No reason. They want to get rid of them. Well, there's 3 new trades that Bleacher Report just put out. They put out every ounce of detail. Some of this does include the Lakers, some doesn't. We're going to break down every trade. We're going to go through the shot chart. But before I get to the trade, check out this one guy that nobody's talking about and his shot chart. This is going to help the Lakers be title contenders with a 100% certainty. Now, one of these dudes that comes up in a 3-team trade would hit the Lakers, and wait till you see some of these percentages. 42%, 38%, 38%, 43%, wait for it, 70% out of 16 shots left. Now, this dude's a walking bucket, and we're going to go deep into these trades that we're hearing in the NBA. I am your NBA white guy. I talk all things hoops from a hooper's perspective. And if you love that kind of content, then make sure that you are tapping that subscribe button and you click the bell so you're notified every time I do a new video. Three team possibilities for trades right now that's going on. Obviously, Utah is still looking to get off of these players. There's no reason, period, that they would want to bring them into this season, but Mr. Danny Ainge is asking for a small fortune and the farm for every one of these last players. So I do think that they're going to move off of these players. There's a lot of other trades out there that include Ben Simmons with the Nets, and a lot of movement. So I want to break down these trades. We're going to talk about what it would mean in the locker room from the psychology standpoint, from a Hooper's mentality, what I love to do, and see which one of these 3-team trades would make these teams better. And at the end, we're going to go through this crazy Lakers trade that will really make them better. 3-team trade number 1. They're trying to go all in with LaMelo Ball. This includes the Hornets, the Pacers, and the Jazz. So let's just talk about who gets what real quick. Right now, the Jazz would receive T.J. McConnell, James Bucknight, and a 2027 first-round pick from Charlotte, top 5 protected. You know your boy Ainge would love to have that. The Hornets would receive Clarkson, Miles Turner, and Buddy Hield. There goes the Lakers' chances. But wow, what an incredible crew to surround your boy LaMelo with, who is an absolute dime waiting to happen. Pacers receive Gordon Hayward, Mason Plumlee, and a 2023 first-round pick from Charlotte via Denver, 25 first-round pick from Charlotte, and a 26 second-round pick from Utah. Now, again, I really want to hit you with a Hooper's perspective on this because as we all have been discussing and the news anchors that sit behind the desk talk about Danny Ainge just collecting picks, there's also a very important factor that a lot of people leave out. Now, you got to have some sort of, veteran presence in the locker room if you're doing a rebuild because you can't just obliterate everything. And some of the young players that you bring in, like a THT, they still need somebody around them to teach them how to be a professional. If not, everything can go haywire. They wanted a young guy like THT. They have some other younger talent, and these dudes still need to develop. So a lot of these other people aren't talking about it. A TJ McConnell, he's only been in the league about 7-8 years, but he still brings that veteran presence of at least hard work. And I think he's a great locker room dude. And again, they do absorb some great picks, but you've got to, in a rebuild, make sure that some of this young talent is still staying professional and showing up and putting in the work when you know their season's going to be an absolute disaster. Now, when you look at this from the Hornets' perspective, they're going to get rid of 3 picks, but you got to go all in with LaMelo. This dude is a bona fide star. Yes, you have these picks and you can keep rolling the dice each year, but they're getting rid of Bucknight, and that is something that, yes, he was a first-round pick. He still has a lot to prove. He had a really bad season last year, but bringing in Clarkson, this is a guy, obviously, with Terry Rozier. They kind of have a lot of similar things, but Clarkson can come off the bench, and he can give that second-team unit a bunch of problems. But getting Buddy Hield in there, who is one of the top 3-point shooters in the NBA league for the past 5 years, and getting him on, the same side with LaMelo Ball, and then Miles Turner. Look, you get rid of Plumlee. He's a big dude, but just watching him, I like the energy that Miles Turner brings, and I love the way that he can stretch the floor a little bit more with three-point shooting. And if you got LaMelo Ball, you're really going to be a good team for the next foreseeable future. And those, top 5 picks that are protected, may not even be that high of a pick with them being so good. So I think at this point, it's really a big win for the Hornets. And lastly, for the Indiana Pacers, look, they're in it just for the NBA draft sweepstakes. They want to get a high lottery pick. They want to turn that franchise around. And I know absorbing that Gordon Hayward contract is not the best, and Mason Plumlee comes in, but Mason Plumlee is not as good as Miles Turner. Just flat out. And so by adding a Miles Turner to the Hornets, I think he's a better fit, and I think he's a better player. In the reverse spectrum with the Pacers, that makes them worse. That makes them, more of the draft lottery pick. And then with Gordon Hayward, it's kind of like a coming home present. They can sell that. So that's just the one player they got to work off of. But this right here makes the Indiana Pacers worse. They get rid of those players that don't want to come back, and they get a ton of draft capital so that they can go get those lottery picks. All right, and this next trade involves the Brooklyn Nets and your boy Ben Simmons. Now, I am a big advocate of seeing these guys play together with, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. I think it is an incredible trio, but this is something that maybe they want to move off of. I don't know. You got to realize that Ben Simmons, the only players in NBA history that have the statistics that he does through 275 games is Magic Johnson and Oscar Robertson. The dude has over 2,200 assists, 2,200 rebounds. He was an all-star. You ask any of those NBA players, the one goal they have besides NBA championships is getting to that all-star break. For some players who've been in it 15, 18 years, it's just not as big of a mystique, but I'm telling you right now, it means a ton contractually, and he's done it. Make sure, please, if you want me to talk more of this NBA talk, you hit the like button right now, and you're also going to comment down below, what trade do you like best, and what other trades are you hearing out there? Here it comes, trade number 2. The Nets receive John Collins. Watch out, that boy will poster you. Eric Gordon, oh my goodness, he can shoot, and Maurice Harkless. The Hawks receive Ben Simmons, David Nwaba, and Edmund Sumner. The Rockets receive Jalen Johnson, Day'Ron Sharpe, and a 2023 first-round pick from Brooklyn. You watch out for that young Houston team. They're going to turn some heads this year. I guarantee it. Quote me on that, your NBA white guy. So why would the Nets do this, moving off a player who's had incredible, season statistics for the first few years of his career in Ben Simmons? Because if you think about this, you've got ball dominant players right now. You've got Kyrie Irving, you've got Kevin Durant. These guys can get a bucket, come off screens, hit shots, and they need more role players who can do this too. What happens is when you get into the playoffs and you play the Boston Celtics, you get guys double and tripling, Kevin Durant. And if he doesn't have shooters and people he can kick to, then it's going to be real problems and they're going to get swept. So a guy like Eric Gordon, this dude can not only stretch the floor, but he shoots from 5-6 feet behind the arc and hits it. And you have to respect that. I don't care about percentages. I don't care about stats. When you got a guy like Gordon, you know that dude crossing half court can shoot, and you have to be out there on him. This is going to eliminate a lot of the double teams that obviously Kevin Durant's going to see, which killed them in the playoffs. And you also got a guy like Mo Harkless, and Collins is an absolute just electrifying player around the rim. I think this makes them a lot better right away. But I am really up on this Ben Simmons with the Nets. So I'm just talking about the trade in general. Now, you might be wondering why the Hawks would go ahead and do this when they just picked up DeJounte Murray, and he's a 6'8" point guard. And now you got Simmons, because when you think about this, you've got Trae Young bringing the ball up. He is a threat to score from anywhere. DeJounte Murray, I think, is going to be one of this league's greatest players in the next few years. And now you bring in a Ben Simmons, who is not a ball-dominant player, who loves to pass the ball. And the thing we forget, he's one of the best defenders out there. And who else is? DeJounte Murray. And those dudes are long and lengthy, and they will cause a ton of problems for a lot of teams. And you watch out for that team out in the fast break. It is going to be electrifying. You got Trae Young running it. You got Ben Simmons, who is incredible in transition, and DeJounte Murray, who's great. This is going to be a fast, electrifying, very lengthy team, and I see it actually being a pretty positive fit for them. And as for the Rockets, like I mentioned, you go to those games, you watch them, they are young, they are electric, they're high-flying, and you bring in these two young players who were the 11th and 12th ranked high school players the same year, just 2 years ago, and you bring them and add them to the bunch, plus another first-round pick. They are in rebuild mode, and this helps them immensely. This helps them to get a ton more of young talent. With Day'Ron and Jalen, this just brings in so much more young, explosive talent. And that Rockets team is going to be nasty going forward after the whole James Harden experience. And I think, you getting that one pick should easily get Gordon away from the Rockets. Having Gordon there, great vet presence, but man, young, electrifying team. Watch out for them Rockets in years to come. But now it comes down to the Lakers and finally moving off of Westbrook. And this is a trade that we definitely need to talk about because it brings in a different player that a lot of people aren't talking about. Trade number 3 of the 3 teamers is the Lakers receiving Mike Conley and your boy Bogey and Doug McDermott. The Jazz receive Westbrook to be bought out, Jacob Poeltl in 2027 and 29 first-round picks from LA. The Spurs receive a 2025 second-round pick from Utah, second-round pick from LA, and a second-round 2026 from Utah. Now we'll get to the shot charts. We're going to break down the offense of the Lakers and why it's beneficial for them. And now they do have to get rid of those 2 first-round picks. But first of all, it boils down to why the Jazz would do it. Obviously, they want those 2 first-round picks from the Lakers. Danny Ainge has come out many times and said that. And you might be thinking, well, they're going to absorb, Jacob Poeltl, and that's an expiring contract. That's something that by next year is already done, and they could buy out Russell Westbrook. He's free to go anywhere, and it gets Utah these other 2 drafts that he desperately wants. And let's be honest, the Spurs are facing the exact same situation. They're wanting to get into the lottery as well. They're wanting to, accumulate as many picks as possible. I'm not quite sure you get rid of Poeltl for just that 1 pick. He's a little better, a second rounder, but maybe Utah can throw in some, other talent to, absorb some of that as well. But look, the Spurs are in complete rebuild mode too, and by losing McDermott and Poeltl, they're really going to not be that good of a team. And again, it's a race for the bottom for some of these teams. Whether you call it, tanking or not, that's what they're doing. But the Lakers, let's talk about this. Jeannie Buss, Rob Pelinka, we are very aware that they don't want to get rid of these 2 first-round picks just to get off Westbrook, unless it makes them considerably better. I'm here to tell you right now, I get it. Conley's another smaller guard, but the dude is a flat-out shooter. He averages over 40% from 3, and he's a leader. This is, again, when you talk about the psychology and in a hooper's perspective, you got to get these guys in the locker room that are leaders, accept roles, and he's one of those. Bogdanovich, we've done enough film on. He is a knockdown 6'8" shooter. A little bit sus on the defensive end, but still, if you get Darvin Ham, you get Pat Bev and these dudes firing him up, and you get the energy up, he's going to accelerate his defense as well. But we got to get people spreading the floor, pulling the defense out, getting LeBron and Anthony Davis more one-on-ones to go downhill. It will open everything up. And lastly, Doug McDermott. This is a guy that I was kind of, iffy on. I never really watched a lot of his film, but I do know he's a knockdown shooter, and I watched a ton of him in college, but I really wanted to go over his shot chart just to see how this could help the Lakers. So here we go. We got the shot chart for Dougie McD last season. Hey, this is one thing that I like looking at. This isn't a guy who shot 20 shots last year and has great numbers. 465 total shots, 256 from behind the arc, 42%. With the 3 players that the Lakers would get combined, they all average over 40% shooting. This will spread the floor. This is going to open up lanes. This will make that 4-out, 1-in system really, really work when you have to, on defense, watch where every single player is. And when there's a lot more movement, this will get a lot more open lanes. So, Doug McDermott, I don't care where you're putting him. He's knocking him down 38%, whatever. You scroll on down here, and he's a 43% shooter. And this corner, man, get that guy to that corner, shooting 68% out of 16 shots last year. That's incredible. We looked at a lot of the other shot charts. Pat Beverly over in this corner was in the mid-40s%, shooting. Anthony Davis in these corners, big-time shooter. You got LeBron, Kendrick Nunn. These guys average, 35 to 38. In fact, Kendrick Nunn shoots like 42% from straight away. So now we've got every corner of this floor with high percentage, 40+% shooters. Same with Conley. He can shoot it at a high level from straight away. This works for the pick and roll. If you understand the 4-out, 1-in, what they're going to be doing is passing to somebody and then cutting, right? Or they dribble at somebody, that person cuts, and they fill the void. So this is where you can strategically start putting players and bringing them off of screens, a lot like the Warriors do, right? And getting open shots anywhere. You got to comment down below. What do you think about this trade? And do you think the Lakers are going to go into the season just running with what they got, keeping those picks, either waiting till the trade deadline or until next season? I still think that they're shopping. There's too many rumors going out there that they're not. I think that Danny Ainge is playing too hard of, hardball. I would love to see, Vanderbilt in one of these trades, but it sounds like he's completely off limits. But what's your thoughts? Comment down below what you're hearing, what you like, and if you love this trade. And please, I'm your NBA white guy. Give me a like and hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of this Hoopers talk. And until my next video, guys, we'll catch you later.